One for me.
And Jim Tucker, decades ago, was on the case when no one had virtually heard of the Bilderberg group, let alone what it connects to. And I remember in 1995, long time ago now, that I went to my first Bilderberg location. It was in Switzerland, a place called Bürgenstock. And Jim did a round-robin email to not too many people in those days saying the Bilderberg meeting this year is in Bürgenstock, Switzerland. Story of my life since my head blew off in 1990. A few weeks earlier, I'd arranged to go and meet and stay with some friends in Switzerland about 2 hours away. So I went down on the first day. It was a big hotel, there's three of them, the Park, the Palace and the Grand. It's like something out of James Bond. And there were the guys with the name tags on and all that stuff, putting the fences up. There was virtually no one there. In terms of protest, no one. Jim must have been around somewhere, but I didn't see him. By then, during the actual event itself, when it started, went back. And this time you couldn't even get onto the mountain, never mind close to the hotels. Right in the far distance, you could not see where they were meeting. That's what happened in those days. Well, symbolism is very, very powerful because it visually gives you a fix on where we are. And Bilderberg and everything that it stands for is no longer at the top of the mountain where we cannot see it. We are in its frickin' grounds. And it ain't seen nothing yet. I think the best thing that you can do to understand the world and to understand yourself is to realize it ain't you that's mad, it's the world we live in and it's the people who run it. That's when the penny drops. Because what we've got is a situation where insanity has become normal. And this is how it happens. You're born into a madhouse, but you're told it's sane. You grow up in a madhouse. There's nothing that you ever see that isn't in the madhouse. And so to you, madness is normal. And when someone comes along and says, this ain't normal, this is madness, they say, you're bloody mad. And you know, the mainstream media, you know, bless their cotton socks, are going to have to come to terms very soon with a simple fact. That the person they abused and ridiculed for nearly a quarter of a century was the one who was sane, and the world they believe in is what is insane. Once we realize that dynamic, the world starts to make sense. Over there is a hotel full of war criminals, parasites, right? Etc. Bankers, need I say more? I think I pronounced it correctly. And the police are protecting them from us. Police, you should be protecting us from them. What are you doing? But isn't it funny that so often there are some great policemen, there will be some great policemen around here and some not very nice ones. This is the world we live in. What are you doing? Shall I do a dance to keep it going? Yeah. And So we have a situation where we have police that are very, genuine, although they're being sifted out more and more, and we have police that are not very nice. But what the point I'm making here is, the police are not from the elite 1%. The police are from the people, and yet they gravitate to protect the elite 1%. This is crazy. Police, join us. We are you, you are us. And I'll give you another fantastic inversion. Bombing cities of civilians to protect them from violence. And there's the mainstream, but oh no, it's the Arab Spring, is fighting for their freedom. I'll tell you what the Arab Spring is in one single sentence. People with brown faces being played off against people with brown faces so that people with white faces can steal their land. That's what it's about. And we have an inversion in the media so much that we actually have a newspaper in this country that is owned by a Russian oligarch and a former employee of the KGB, and it calls itself The Independent. The world is crazy and upside down. Most crazy. The characters in there who are dictating our world day after day, year after year. Look at them! Kissinger! What did he say? I don't know, mate. I've got a clue. I've never understood the word the bloody man said. And there's Rockefeller and all these people have been on. And then there's Mandelson. Mandelson, for people watching who are not from this country, Peter Lord Mandelson was the puppeteer of Tony Blair, known as the Prince of Darkness, not without bloody reason. He'll be in there tonight at dinner, Mandelson, rushing to finish his soup before it clots. Have you seen Mandelson? I can't work him out. I've never seen anyone with his nose so far in the air he didn't fall over. He walks around as if he's got a putrid smell under his nose all the time. And of course he has, himself. Oh, Ronaldo, there's a big pong in here. Yes, you, darling. Because, corruption, conspiracy and sleaze, Peter, does tend to stink to high heaven. And I've looked at the physics of Peter Mandelson, and I can only work out this. He has got to have some kind of counterweight connected to his dick to keep him from falling over. He has got to. That's what it is. Look at all the stuff now with the technology. You're seeing it. I was writing about this 20 years ago that it was coming. All these smartphones and stuff. Oh, you don't need to go in the bank anymore. Do it online. Oh, do it from your phone. They're creating the cashless society based on a single electronic currency. And the cashless society means this. If you go into a store or a shop now and you hand over electronic money, a credit card, and the system says no, won't accept it, at least for now, though it's going out of fashion so fast, you can pay cash. Once cash is gone, that's the idea, then when that computer says no to your electronic money, your microchip as they ideally want, then it's deciding if you can or cannot purchase. It's about control. That's what it's about. And you see, the euro was never meant to work because they want this single currency, they have to do it in steps. It means that they had all those European currencies, the guilder, the lira, the mark, and all the rest of them. Now, they had to get rid of them on the road to a single global electronic currency. So in comes the euro, and it wiped them all away. Massive step forward to that goal I've been writing about all these years. Now, all they need to do is destroy the euro and the world currency in general, and they'll say, well, what we have to do is we have to have a world currency to sort out this problem. Alongside the world government and world central bank and single currency, they want a world army to impose the will of the world government. Now, we already have a world government de facto. It goes under names like G8 and G20 and all this stuff, UN Security Council. We also have a de facto world army, and it's called NATO, which imposes the will of these people. Send the boys in. So we're seeing it unfold before our eyes, and still the mainstream media can't see it because it can only see dots and not pictures. And there's two techniques that are necessary to understand. Many people will be aware of these here, but I'll go through them for the mainstream media. Because that's the thing, you see. This is the thing. This is what the mainstream media do not understand in their bewilderment at what's happening, is vast numbers of people are now far more informed about the world than they are. This is the point. The first technique I gave the name to a long time ago now, problem, reaction, solution. Real simple. You want to change the world in a way that if you did it openly, there would be a massive response against it. So you don't do it openly. You first of all create a problem which you blame someone else for. 9/11 and all that stuff, a banking crash, a government crash, and you blame it on someone or something else. You then, here we go again, through a unquestioning mainstream media, you pass on your version of that problem to the public, and you're looking at stage 2 for a reaction of fear, of anxiety, of do something, something must be done. And then you, who've covertly created that problem, then offer the solution to the problems you've created. And those solutions are changes in society that advance the agenda towards this structure I'm talking about, that would never have happened without the manipulated problem. There's even a version, Tony Blair's good at these. Tony Blair, yeah. If there's ever a half-truth in a Blair speech, it's a typing error, okay? But it's an add-on to that technique, an offshoot, which I call no problem reaction solution. This is when you don't need a real problem to justify the solution, you just invent one. Weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Dead simple. Don't need a problem. Invent it. And alongside problem, reaction, solution, its partner almost always hunts together. What I call the totalitarian tiptoe. Again, dead simple, and my goodness me, that brings us back to this organization here. You start at A, as they did, and you know you're going to Z. You know where the agenda's leading. But if you go there too quickly, the changes in society are such that people look up and go, what's going on? What's happening? And so you do it in steps as big as you can get away with, but not so big that you alert too many people. And so what we've seen in the most classic example, which brings us to this organization, so the totalitarian tiptoe is the European Union. We have a European Union centralized bureaucratic dictatorship thanks to the Bilderberg group and its manipulation over decades. The Bilderberg group was created in part by a man called Joseph Rettinger. It just so happens that Joseph Rettinger was one of the major instigators of the European Union. Head of DARPA, until relatively recently, was a lady called Regina Duggan. She ran this sinister organization, DARPA. She then had a rather remarkable career move. She became an executive of Google. And this very week, she was promoting for another company of which she is an executive, Motorola, something you may have come across in the papers called the electronic tattoo. And what she was saying, and the Motorola was saying, they want to replace passwords with the electronic tattoo. And that is the totalitarian tiptoe. The electrical tattoo is one step from the internal microchip. This is where we're going, and we need to see it, and we need to stand in front of the truck and say enough, no further. So, in all these different and various ways, this is why it's so vital to connect dots to see the picture. In all these various ways, what's going on in there ain't people having a chat. It's people in all these different subject areas developing a coordinated, agreed policy that can be played out in the public arena while manifesting, as all know, it's just random. This government's decided that, that government's decided that, when it's all coming out from the spider. So, we are here today at a fantastic moment because never ever in the history of this crowd have they faced a crowd as big as this knowing what they're on about. Never before. This is history, but we need to kick on from here because there's three things that are vital to the few controlling the many. One is to keep the many in ignorance of what they're doing. That is now being put right by the alternative media and the communication of this information. A second one is the population being kept in acquiescence, the many kept in acquiescence to the few. That's the next one we need to sort out. Stop acquiescing. We need to come together and have a mass, non-violent, non-cooperation campaign the world over in which we refuse to cooperate with our own enslavement. Because only if we refuse to or cooperate with our own enslavement is it possible for the few to do this to the many. And there's the third thing they absolutely desperately want. And that is divide and rule. They cannot do it without that. And look at it. We divided as a world on the fault lines, the manufactured fault lines of religion and culture and race and all the rest of it, and income bracket. And, you know, they're picking each section off while the other one looks the other way and says, it's not my problem. Well, a man said something like this after the Nazi years in Germany. First they came for the Jews and I was not a Jew, so I did nothing. Then they came for the communists. I was not a communist, so I did nothing. Then they came for the trade unionists. I was not a trade unionist, so I did nothing. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. That is what they're doing now. Oh, it's the Muslims. Let's demonize the Muslims. Let's demonize the poor. Let's demonize people with one bedroom too many when they're on benefits. Let's demonize everyone. Turn the rest of them against them, and when the demonized ones have been picked off, then we'll come for you. This is what is happening, and we need to come together. Open the heart, open the mind, irrespective of religion, race. I don't care. We are all one consciousness having different experiences. Now we have got to the key. And the key is that we are infinite awareness, all the same consciousness, having different experiences, but we have to be persuaded and manipulated by what that represents, that we are just our name, our body, and our life story. We are not. They are experiences. They're not who we are. When we identify and self-identify with name, income bracket, a life story, etc., we see the world and ourselves in terms of little me. I'm just little me. I'm just Joe Bloggs, Fred Jones. Who am I? What can I do? But when you get to that point where you expand your awareness, you expand the memory of what we already know, then you realize there are no little me's. There's only a perception, here we go again, of little me. And we must keep that perception if we're going to be controlled by the few. We are infinite awareness, all that has been, ever can be, and ever anything can be. The same single awareness. We need to stop fighting each other and come to this conclusion. If we're one consciousness, then anybody else's injustice becomes our injustice. No more looking the other way. You know, it's so simple. If you see a problem, you can try to find a solution to it. We're drowning in those blooming things. So why don't we do the sensible thing, which is to remove the cause of the problem? The cause of the problem is we have been having our perception programmed into little me, and we've forgotten that we are infinite awareness, all that it can be, is, and ever will be. Therefore, to remove the cause of the problem, we start to self-identify again. Who is I? What is the I? No, it's not Charlie Jones. It's infinite awareness, infinite power, infinite love, infinite capacity to dictate our own reality instead of having it dictated to us. This is the power we have. We have the power. That's a house of cards. The people it's manipulating, silly sods, are the ones that are holding it up there. We need to stop doing that, and there'll be a very loud bang, and it will be over. And this is a major, major step to that loud bang. We're reaching now. You know, I don't quote Churchill very much for many reasons, but one thing he said, I think it was in 1942 at the State of the War, he said, "This is not the end, nor even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning." I suggest that this moment marks the end of the beginning. And that beginning has been to bring vast numbers of people, and that needs to continue, my goodness, into an awareness that the world was not like they thought it was, and it's not run by forces that they thought it was run by. That's now reached clearly a point all over the world, and my goodness, I can tell you because I work on it all day, the bloody graph is going skywards in terms of people waking up to their true nature. And now, along with continuing that, we need to go to stage 2. And that is to cease to acquiesce and cease to submit with that which we're now aware of. No more fear of authority. No more fear of anything. And you know, people in uniform here, people in uniform here, you have children and grandchildren that are going to have to live in the world that I'm describing, and that which you are protecting. Not that it needs to be, we don't want any problem, but we don't do what they do there. We don't manipulate the world to more slaughter and more control and more imposition of the will of the few on the many. You've got to start to realize that you are part of us and start to break down those barriers and stop working for your children and grandchildren's own enslavement by keeping these people from the public eye. I say that to soldiers Troops, you're going abroad to lands with brown faces and you're devastating them, not for your country, but for those that are controlling your country, dictating to your country and seeking to enslave your country for your children and grandchildren. Put your weapons down. Refuse to do it. This is the next stage where we stop playing a part in the enslavement of ourselves. And you know, there was a mantra song that I came across a long time ago, which just had 4 lines, so appropriate now. It went, we are the power in everyone. We are the dance of the moon and the sun. We are the hope that will never hide. We are the turning of the tide. And so we are. And it's so clear today that that tide is starting to move. And this is the last thing I'll say in terms of where we're at, to put it in perspective. We here outnumber the 140 by a very large margin. Let's just visualize that. People here in front of me massively outnumber the 140 who are orchestrating the direction of the world on behalf of masters that they are terrified of. Now, take this and imagine 7 billion people, and those 140 are doing that to them. What did I say? What did I say earlier? The world is mad. The world is a complete inversion of itself. And what we need is a peaceful, non-cooperative campaign. The non-comply dance, as I call it. Peaceful because we ain't joining them. You can have revolutions, and history is littered with them, where violent revolutions remove a tyranny, and what follows is another form of tyranny. You do not create a peaceful society, a loving society, a caring society, and a just society with violence. We can do this peacefully, and we have the numbers. As the poet Shelley said, rise like lions after slumber, with unvanquishable number. Shake your chains to earth like dew, which in sleep have fallen on you. Ye are many, they are few. Every time the Bilderberg group meets, they send out messages to the world. We are the ones sending out messages